strength coaches, stop conditioning your long snappers like they're a middle linebacker. They're not. If they have to punt again, is a penalty. They're going to go back to the huddle. There's time. They can catch their breath. They are a sprinter. What's up, everybody? Let's talk about your kickers and punters the same way that we did about the quarterbacks. If you don't know what I'm talking about with the quarterbacks, we had a blog come out 2 years ago, recently released a video talking about how to prepare your quarterbacks for all the throws that's going to happen during camp. If you don't manage this as the strength and conditioning coach, because as Cal Dietz had said in Triphasic, we are stress managers as strength and conditioning coaches. You, as the stress manager, need to understand your quarterback's going to be doing a ton of throwing. We had the blog, we had the video talking about how to properly reverse engineer that to make sure your quarterback's arm is healthy when they get to camp. This is going to be talking about your kickers and punters. They are going to be having a ton of kicking that occurs during camp. If you don't plan for it now, if you stick your head in the sand and you don't actually think about it, talk about it, your kickers and punters are going to be at a greater likelihood of injury. Now, if you're watching this, you see that I'm wearing my Iowa trained sweatshirt. I worked for Iowa football back in the day, 2013 to 2018. This is not stuff that I did there. All right. At Iowa, we did not train the specialists like this. We dropped the ball, in my opinion, did not do it as effectively as we could. Maybe it's because Coach Doyle didn't know better, and that's why we didn't do better. I know I didn't think about this, and that's why I'm trying to spend all this information and spend this time letting you guys know. When I was at Maryland, all right, Drew, Coach Wilson, we didn't do this there either. So again, I'm trying to spread this to the masses to make everybody aware so you can do better for your athletes. Ultimately, that's why we're doing this. So as we talk about this blog and we talk about the kicking, chances are none of you are actually a strength and conditioning coach that can make a 50-yard field goal, maybe even a 40 or a 30. DeMarco can. I've seen it. DeMarco and I worked together at Iowa. The man would squat 500 pounds and then kick a 50-yard field goal. He's a mutant. Nick understands the difficulty of kicking. Guthrie, I know you understand the difficulty because you were a punter. Chances are the rest of us, or I know I didn't, and so chances are the rest of you don't understand the difficulty of it. What we need to do is you need to understand that you're going to be grouping your kickers and punters, especially at the college level and very much at the high school level, and any of our pro listeners. There's going to be different groups. Is it going to be a field goal only? All right, field goal extra point only. Is it going to be a punt only? Is it going to be a field goal and punt? Is it going to be a field goal and kickoff? Is it going to be a punt and kickoff? Or is it all three? The reason I say that is there's literally those situations. Shane McDonough, who I worked with at Towson, Shane was our punter and our kickoff guy. At Iowa, Marshall Kane was our field goal guy and our kickoff guy because he had a big leg. Shane was doing all three when he was at so that's my point is, if you're doing a lot of kicking, Will Saffris, the high school kid that I work with here in Iowa, who's now at Missouri, when you do all three, there's a ton of stress on your legs, and you have to be especially cognizant of all the different stressors that's going on, because go and do the kick. Understand how difficult and the velocities going through the leg when you're doing a kickoff with the full approach, or a long range field goal versus a short range field goal, even a punt. Understand the difficulties and the velocities that are occurring at the hip during this, and you understand why we're talking about this. One of the things, as I said, I'm talking about what we did at Iowa and what we didn't do. We didn't let the kickers and punters condition their legs the way that it should have been in the offseason. And this is something that I rectified when I was at Towson. So when we would be in the GPP phase, all right, or even towards the conditioning parts and the summer conditioning, or getting ready for spring ball, I would let the kickers and punters get ready for spring ball by doing the thing that they needed to do. So they would kick on air to just get the repetition for their leg. They would do a one step, a no step, and we'll talk about that further in this conversation. But letting them kick on air, or taking footballs and kicking them in a field away from me because I couldn't have a football on the field. It'd be a violation of rules. I could let them kick a soccer ball, and we would kick things of that nature. So they're conditioning their leg for the thing that's going to happen, because if they have a spike in workload of kicking in season, in camp, whatever it be, and you hadn't done it beforehand because you were making them run, why are your kickers and punters running? Why? They don't need to be doing all of this running. Your kickers and punters are not like everybody else. And your long snappers. We're going to talk about the long snappers at the end. So you need to let them do some kicking on air. They don't need to be running with the rest of the team. They can do some speed work because speed development is obviously important for them. They need to be powerful people. And yes, they might have to run down and make a tackle, but they don't have to be able to repeatedly run down and make a tackle. If they have to make a tackle, the play's over. They're going to go back and they're going to sit on the sideline. At worst, there's a penalty and they have to kick the ball again and do it again, but there's rest. So stop conditioning your kickers and punters. They don't have to do it. Don't worry about making them like the rest of the team. If they have to be like the rest of the team, like, again, just think about how crazy, they're like, they're not, because the amount of stress that's put on them at the end of the game. So this whole conversation, I want you to be figuring out, all right, what is your kicker and punter? What do they do? Are they a field goal only? Are they kicker? Are they punting only? Long kickoffs? Like, what is it? What are they doing? And then make the high days high and the low days low. What's a high day for them? That should be a full approach kick, right? Big long ranges, long field goals, kickoffs, long punts. So that way it's a big rep. They're full speed, full range of motion, and it's fast and it's difficult for them. Make your high days high. What's a low day? A low day can be something as simple as, catching the punt and making sure that they're dropping it properly where it bounces straight up. One of the punters that came back and worked with the guys at Iowa, goodness gracious, his name forgets me and I'm probably going to remember it later, but he would have the guys walk on a line, drop the ball, and make sure that it would perfectly bounce back up to them. So, that's a low CNS day for them, but they're still working on their technique. Or it could be a field goal one-step kick. Like, that again is just a simple, it's an ability to get some low-level work on the leg. Free courses from Strength Coach Network. Right now, we're giving away $1,900 worth of education when you simply sign up for our free giveaway. This lasts until the end of May 2024, where first prize gets access to Fundamentals 1 and 2, which is $1,200 in value and 4.0 CEUs to the NSCA. Second prize is Fundamentals 1 or Fundamentals 2, whichever you do not have, valued at $600 and has 2.0 CEUs. Third place is $100 store credit to our partners at Ultimate Athlete Concepts, which is the #1 bookstore for athletic coaches' textbooks. Simply click down below for more information on how to enter. Anybody can enter. We will announce winners on June 1st while allowing recovery. Sounds a lot like tempo runs, right? Like, we're going to do low CNS tempo runs to keep everything below 70%. Same premise. You figure out what works best for y'all and your coaching staff, but that's how you want to start thinking about these things. And then you need to be regressing it and understanding, like, okay, talk with the special teams coordinator. Hey, coach, what days are you doing punt? What days are you doing kickoff? What days are you doing field goal? How are you periodizing your kicks? You think you're not going to get a lot of buy-in with your special teams coordinator? If you go to your special teams coordinator and say, hey, coach, when camp starts, how many kicks a day are you going to be having them do full range? What are you working on? The long kicks, the short kicks? How can I best condition the kicker's legs so that way they're ready to kick the ball in camp? That's going to get you a ton of respect with the special teams coordinator. You need to be having this conversation. So figure out what they're going to be doing in camp, reverse engineer it with, okay, by the end of summer training, they need to be kicking X number, and then you start at the beginning of summer training. Hey, this is how we're going to safely increase 10 to 15% each week to make sure that we've added the specific number of days, the specific, hard reps, the things we talk about in the blog. We end up going 5 days a week, Monday through Friday kicking, high CNS kicking being Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, low CNS. But if you look at where we started on week 1, it was just 2 days of kicking, Monday and Wednesday. And it would be from a list of your low CNS lifting day or low CNS kicking. Week 2, you would introduce some of the high CNS kicking. An example of all 3. So, we did have kids that would have to practice all 3 at Towson. Monday would be punts. Tuesday was a 1-step kick into a net for a PAT. Wednesday was being kickoffs. Thursday was plus 50 punts. So that was a punt where they had to be really angular and they had to be up and to the side. It was a shorter punt, so that's why we put it on that lower CNS day after they had all that progression. And then on Friday would be a deep field goal. And that's how we would rotate it through specifically on 1 week. But you decide, just like in the Bible, I don't want to fish for you. I want to teach you how to fish so you can fish properly for your athletes and make this the best for your team. You know your team better than me. Understand the principles of what we're talking about in this video, what we write on the blog, and then apply it. Now, everything on the field has to complement the weight room. So make sure you're doing good training in the weight room. What is good training? What is your power movements? What are your unilateral, bilateral lower body, whether it's knee dominant or posterior chain dominant, horizontal push, horizontal pull, vertical pull, your torso work, all the rules apply. You know, I don't think that there's a need for cleans in football. I've talked about it ad nauseum. I'm not here to say that. What I will caveat is back when we did used to clean, I had some athletes that did like to clean, and they would hang clean, and it's like, cool, if you want to hang clean, maybe we'll go a little bit lighter. Like, let them have a little bit of freedom. And I say that because it's like, all right, if the whole team was cleaning back before I knew about the power complex, I had some kickers that wanted to clean. I had some kickers that didn't. So the kickers that didn't, I just replaced the clean with a dumbbell box jump. That's because I didn't know about doing an RDL, then the box jump, then the altitude landing. Some of them wanted to only high pull. So we kept the confines of this is the movement. We still did barbell snatches once I learned about the power complex. Some kickers and punters wanted to do a barbell snatch. Some of them wanted a dumbbell snatch. Figure out whatever works for them. If they don't want to do the snatch, I didn't make them because to me, kickers and punters, they're so highly specialized that you should let them do different things. Don't shove a square peg in the round hole. So like that to me is how you need to be addressing the weight room stuff. Be open-minded and understand that their job is to kick a ball through uprights. And if you actually think that them doing a clean at 275 or driving that clean 1RM up is going to make a difference, I think you're often misguided. The way that I would address conditioning for these athletes is to make sure that they stay healthy. So when I say that a healthier person has a good, healthy aerobic system will be healthier longer, find different ways to be able to train this. So off-feet conditioning. So you can do it on an elliptical. You can do it on an airdyne bike. You can have them swim. You can do battle ropes. Like you can do things. You can do EMOMs. You can do every 30 on the 30. I just saw that post from Dr. Kelly Starrett. Like figure out ways that they can condition and stress their lungs. We had the Cheeky Midweeky Football Friday with, Rusty Witt, where he talked about doing some off-feet conditioning to improve lean body mass with his O-lineman, right? That's things that you can do with this population where you're not running them into the ground, keeping their legs fresh so they can kick, right, and stressing that hip flexor, but you can now improve their general athleticism and their general health and their heart pumping healthy so they can stay healthy to handle the demands of travel, practice, games, blah, 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 blah. That's why you want to condition them, but you don't need to condition them running 55-yard sprints or cut 85s or 60-yard shuttles. That is not what they should be doing. Do it the right way. Now, finally, your long snappers. To me, long snappers need to be treated like a 55-yard sprinter in indoor track and field. They need to run downfield. They need to be the first person. Let's call it what it is. Kickers and punters. Kluver, you're going to agree with me on this. Conrad Brake. You guys know, Pat Coyle, you are not the best athlete on the field. You are probably one of the worst. And in punts, you are kicking the ball to the other team's best player. You need to get down there so quickly that that person has to think about you, right? They either have to think and fair catch it, or they have to think about how they're going to get around you. That thinking slows them down enough. You make a cut, make them decide to do something so the rest of your athletic teammates can tackle them. So what does that mean? You don't need to be doing conditioning work either. You need to be really fast, really great at changing direction. So strength coaches, stop conditioning your long snappers like they're a middle linebacker. They're not. If they have to punt again, is a penalty. They're going to go back to the huddle. There's time. They can catch their breath. They are a sprinter. Stop training your long snapper like they are a linebacker. They're not. Yes, they might have to make a tackle, but they need to get downfield, make that punt returner fair catch, think about them so the rest of the team can make the tackle. This was quick, but the whole point of all of this was to allow you to get some simple knowledge, read the blog, understand your kickers and punters and long snappers need to be trained differently. They are not like everybody else. They don't do what everybody else does. Find a way to do the individualization. Don't train them like everybody else. They deserve better. You can do better. You now know better, so do better. Later, y'all.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.